On the second day in Palma, there was a strong wind warning that would increase as the night went on. Kathy and I decided to move to a bay that was just a few kilometres away, where we'd be away from rocks, just in case Orca dragged her anchor. Orca had two separate anchor alarms that we set so that if we moved from an anchored position more than 50 feet, they would go off. In addition, both Kathy and I had apps on our phone that we set that night as well. In the night, the wind increased rapidly and was soon over 30 knots. But we felt safe as our anchor was a very good model and had served us well. To decrease the worry of dragging, I laid out as much chain as would allow. We also made sure that we were far from other boats that were anchored in the bay. We felt safe in the knowledge that we had taken every precaution that we could. At around 11:30, a horrendous, very loud grating sound that went on for 3 or 4 seconds that reverberated through the boat. Then a bang that almost knocked me off my feet. Both Kathy and I both rushed up the stairs and outside to see another yacht crashing violently into us on our port side. A middle-aged man started screaming across to us, "Your anchor has dragged!" All this while his boat separated and then came crashing back with huge force. We rushed to try and push his boat away to stop the damage, but the wind was too strong. I was petrified that Kathy would be really badly hurt by catching her hands between the two boats, but there was no stopping her from trying to protect Orca. The man in the other boat started his motor and drove his boat 20 metres away, yelling to cut our anchor and let it go. He then proceeded to pull Orca in tow around the harbour in tight circles, twisting back and forth in some vain attempt to free the anchors. We were helpless as this maniac took us further out into the open sea from the harbour and into rougher conditions. After 10 minutes I decided to call the Coast Guard on Orca's VHF radio. Pan pan, pan pan, pan pan. Palma Coast Guard, this is sailing vessel Orca NZ. A few seconds later, a heavily accented Spanish male voice answered. "Orca, what is the nature of your problem and position?" To which I replied, "We have been hit by another yacht and his anchor chain is caught and entangled, is now dragging us around the harbour. Please help us." "Stay calm and we'll be with you in 20 minutes. I grabbed 2 life jackets and rushed back up on deck and handed one to Kathy. True to their word, 20 minutes later, out of the blackness appeared a bright orange 50-foot Coast Guard boat. It pulled alongside the other boat and a Coast Guard man yelled at him to stop. A few minutes later they nosed up to the yacht and one man leapt aboard and rushed to its bow and began pulling on the anchor chain hand over hand. As he was lifting up the chain, the owner of the yacht decided to help by using the electric winch, very narrowly missing catching the Coast Guard's hand in the winch mechanism. Even from Orca we could hear the very angry response in Spanish, followed by a few expletives as he let go of the anchor chain quickly, causing the chain to fall back into the sea. Once again he pulled on the chain until, to our joy, the 2 entangled anchors appeared. With one last twist our anchor fell back into the sea, separated from the other yachts. We raised the anchor using the electric winch as the Coast Guard boat came near to tell us to follow him along with the other yacht back to the marina. It was 1 a.m. when we tied up to the concrete pier. We were asked what had happened by the Coast Guard officer. He wrote as we talked and told him that we thought that the other boat skipper must have been drinking due to his loss of situational awareness and the crazy way he had acted. The officer said that he too thought that the man had been drinking, as he went off to file his report. The next morning over breakfast, Kathy and I thought how lucky we were that neither of us had been hurt, or even worse, lost our lives. We decided to go over to the Coast Guard boat and thank the men who had helped us. Only one man was on board, and he was pleased to see us. He proudly showed us around his boat, explaining things as we went. Kathy and I went back and surveyed the damage on Orca's side and deck. A piece of the other boat lay on our deck. There were 2 bent stanchions, a broken rail cable, some scratches along the side where the boat had hit, and the lifebuoy and its holder had been completely torn off. The damage was mostly superficial, but would need to be fixed, and the cost would be in the thousands. But we had no idea how badly damaged Orca was below the waterline, as the other boat's anchor chain had scraped along the hull and keel. My main worry was the rudder. We had no option but to file a claim with our insurer. It took a few days for them to accept our claim, but when I talked to the agent, he said Orca would need to come out of the water to be sure of no critical damage to the hull. We had spent 9 days up on the hard stand in the marina to repair the damage to the hull and the stanchions and replace the broken rail cables. Insurance had also replaced the orange life vest and locator. We lived on the boat in the marina while the work proceeded, but could not use the showers or toilet while up on the hard stand. Toilet and shower were provided for us in the main building. To get either on or off Orca, we had to use the ladder that the marina office had provided. Work went on around us while we lived on board. Some days the workmen would call me over to check if we were happy with the work that they had done. I also took the opportunity to have a new seawater inlet installed in the hull. This one was to be lower down and was for the water maker. I had discovered that the previous inlet was a bit too high and came out of the water when the boat heeled over, letting air into the system. Finally, everything had been repaired to our satisfaction, and Orca was lowered back into the water. I gently steered her away from the slings that had held us. As we slowly motored down the waterway, we passed all the expensive gin palaces and the Coast Guard boat and out into the bay where we had been rescued some 11 days previous. We were headed for Ibiza and some 127 kilometres away. The weather was fine and the sea was calm. We were glad to be leaving